Yeah, our attorney's coming. Sorry for the late start. Okay. Are we streaming? Okay. I will call the Board of Selectmen special meeting, June 25th, 2025, to order at 7:02 PM. And if we could have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss police contract negotiations, inviting Dan Colton, Claire Morris, and Bill Ryan, our labor attorney, into the executive session.
So moved.
Got- All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And we're going to go into executive session, and we'll be right back. Sorry, everybody. We do what we have to do. you have that up there. Betsy, I think Holly is on the line. She was in executive session remotely, and she is in. Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
We're all back from executive session. Up next is the possible vote on the police contract. Jason, do you have a motion?
I do. Mr. First Selectman, I make a motion that the Board of Selectmen approve a contract with the Southbury Police Department, Fraternal Order Police Lodge 35. You lost that. That's all right.
There we go.
All right. That the Southbury Board of Selectmen authorizes the First Selectman to sign the Fraternal Order Police contract upon ratification by the Police Department.
Do I have a second? And Armino has seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Holly is an aye. Okay, we can hear you. There's no, Justin is not here, so it passes. Okay. Consent agenda, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Can I have a second, Ann? Thank you. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you, and that passes. Up next is a discussion on the senior center hours. We don't have our podium out, but we do have, we have a microphone. I asked Andrea, our senior services director, to come and talk to us about how this is working and what she knows about it. So if you'd like to address the board on the, for the senior center. Is it working?
Hello? Okay, can you hear
There
me?
you go. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I wanted to clarify first some misinformation that has circulated from the announcement of the 4-day workweek pilot program on April 3rd, 2025. Historically, the Senior Center offered 3 exercise programs on Fridays. Our staff worked with the instructors, and all 3 of those classes have been rescheduled to new times during the week. Nothing has been canceled. Fridays, we offered transportation to ShopRite and in-town appointments. We moved our ShopRite day to Tuesday. Seniors have grocery shopping opportunities to go on Tuesday and also Wednesdays when we do ShopRite and Stop and Shop. Also, our transportation offers Manic Monday shopping trips where we go to places like Target, Walmart, local malls, Aldi's, Whole Foods, and more. For the Dial Ride, Friday was our New Haven and West Haven day. In 2024, we made 4 trips there. Due to the low volume of riders to this location, we now offer New Haven and West Haven medical transportation by request Monday through Thursday. In 2024, our transportation department completed 3,376 rides. 593 of those were on Fridays, which is about 17%. 53% of those rides on Fridays were for grocery shopping, 11% were for the senior center, 11% were personal care appointments, 10% were in-town medical, 8% were for senior center trips, and 7% were other. We have 6 part-time drivers on staff, 4 12-passenger buses, and recently the town purchased 3 SUVs for the departments to share. We offer more transportation opportunities and have a larger area of service than any other local senior center. I am confident that we can get our seniors to where they need to be for their appointments, grocery shopping, and more, all during the 4-day work week. We offer an annual membership of $15 a year and are on track to hit our 2025 goal of 1,000 plus members. Each week we offer 13 instructor-led exercise classes, a variety of games like mahjong, table tennis, a delicious lunch on Tuesdays and Thursdays, hobbies like knitting, gardening, and more. Each month we offer parties, educational seminars, services like massage, facials, hairdresser, manicures. We do book club, crafts, trips, support groups, and really the list goes on. All of this is possible because of my amazing staff who has joined me here tonight, our great group of volunteers and talented instructors who make these programs successful. We truly care about the seniors, and I'm confident our center will continue to be a focal point of this community even with a 4-day schedule. It's worth mentioning, we have not had a program request that we could not accommodate in quite some time. The seniors wanted Pilates, we found a Pilates instructor. The seniors wanted a diabetes support group. Kathy found some local medical professionals to do a monthly seminar. The seniors wanted a crochet class to complement our knitting and crocheting group. So we have a vibrant volunteer to lead those classes. Now, the 4-day work week will give us later hours so we can target the next largest generation, the baby boomers, who might still be working. Our membership is 60 and older, and many people nowadays are working well into their 60s and 70s. Now, these seniors have more opportunities to attend programs, meet with a municipal agent or a social worker, or visit other town departments. Since the April announcement, we've received over 130 renewals and new memberships. So we are still actively recruiting members, even with this new schedule. Now I'd like to speak to you as a town employee. When my position became available in October of 2022, I was working for another Connecticut senior center. I was made aware of the posting, but I immediately ignored it. I was so happy at my previous job. I was with that town for 8 years with no intention of leaving. I loved my staff, the seniors. I owned property in that town and had a 5-minute commute. No way was I going anywhere. I've never been to Southbury, but just for fun, I decided to look at the town website. There, I saw that the town buildings closed at 1 o'clock on Fridays. That caught my eye. I reread the job description, thought about it some more, and figured it'd be a step forward in my career, and decided to apply and see what happens. And I can tell you, my employer was shocked when I put in my notice. So it is worth noting, just because an employee resigns, it does not mean they're always unhappy or disgruntled. I am also a millennial. In US, millennials make 35% of the workforce, and globally, 75% of the workforce. Millennials also tend to switch jobs every 3 years, 3 times more the rate than prior generations. My parents were both municipal employees. They had decades of service in the town that they worked for. My parents taught my brother and I to work hard, show up for work on time, to be patient and kind, to be honest and fair. And frankly, I can't imagine switching jobs every 3 years like a typical millennial. I prefer to be an expert in my field, to be familiar with my coworkers and my patrons. I enjoy growing my skills each and every year. I also know how detrimental a leadership gap can be for a department when a department head changes. An employer that offers a 4-day work week would be a reason for me, a millennial, to stay. It shows you value my health and happiness. The extra day off gives me and other employees a chance to rest, to recharge, handle personal tasks, lowers anxiety and depression, fosters better sleep, emotional well-being, and as we know, the US has a serious mental health crisis and high rates of employee burnout. It was also not too long ago that there was uproar about employee and specifically department head retention. I had just hit my 1-year mark when Parks and Rec Director Michael Gainham resigned for a new position. I read those comments on social media. I listened to the remarks at town meetings and saw the challenges that Parks and Rec Department faced while being short-staffed while waiting for the hire of Megan. When Michael resigned, a request was made at a meeting just like tonight for the first selectman to create an employee retention task force. I understand that every major decision will have some opposition. Change is never easy, regardless of the circumstances. I will end tonight by saying, as one of the town's newest department heads, I support the first selectman's decision to implement the 4-day workweek pilot program, and I do hope it becomes permanent. It is crucial for the town to attract and retain talented and dedicated employees to continue to offer the services that make Southbury a town that people want to live in. Rest assured, the senior center will still offer the same level of quality programming, if not more. We would not do anything that would do any harm to the seniors, and I would be disappointed if a few negative voices end up overshadowing many of those who are quietly in support. And I would be happy to answer any questions at this time.
So first, I'd like to say that you're absolutely right. One of the charges and challenges that I have as basically first selectman and as manager of roughly 130 some employees at any given time is retention, whether it's our police department through contracts, their well-being, their life-work balance, To give you an example, I know that there was a question about why our police officers don't work a shift on Lake Lonona or Lake Zor. And the answer is because they only get weekends off every so many days, and they are not looking for the experience of making more money and more money for the sake of making more money. They want to have a life. So being charged with that and working with HR, this was an idea that was put out there on a 4-day work week. Some departments can't do it. And I think being, if I dare say, an old guy at almost 67 and should be a member of the senior center and the great lunches, I have millennials, young people. They're not children anymore, but they are constantly discussing work-life balance and what it means to them. It's not always about another dollar an hour for them. I also want to say that when I came to you with this, when we talked about it, I also I charged you with trying to get more seniors, if I dare say, seniors who are still working, maybe retired and watching their grandchildren, but would like to go to a class later in the afternoon or early evening. Could you look into that? And you are looking into trying to make the senior center inclusive of some of us, if I dare say, younger seniors. You get there too, buddy.
I didn't know where we were going with this.
Because it's exciting, because I've asked the senior center constantly that we have programs that, for the well-being of, and increase the numbers. And our numbers have increased. And the mood down there, have you had many seniors, of the how many members?
I think we're just shy of 900 at this point.
Okay, and of the 900, what do you, how many do you have expressed a problem with the Friday?
Directly to me or my staff, probably less than 10.
Okay. How have you had reactions to the other, that they were happy about the 4-day?
Yes, a lot of our seniors come up to us at our office and say, good for you, we understand it. Like I mentioned, we did have to move 3 of our exercise classes. 2 of our instructors, it actually worked better for them in their own personal schedules. So that was great. The classes are going well. So people get it. People understand.
I also understand you are doing the pig roast on a Friday?
So we planned the pig roast before this was in effect, so it's actually a Thursday.
On a Thursday,
We would have
okay.
probably picked a Wednesday, but it's Thursday at the end of July from 4:30 to 6:30, just for
Okay.
something to. Yes, so we are still, it's not the end of the world. I still went to a organization I'm part of. We had like a leadership breakfast on a Friday that I attended. In July, we're working with the animal control officer, and we're doing a pet wellness clinic for seniors on a Friday. So we're still hosting trips on a Friday. This Friday, we have a trip going on a river cruise. So it's not, hard in stone.
Okay. I know our social services director is here, who deals with seniors in needs, and you would hear, Mary, from seniors who have a special need or an issue in their life because of, you would hear about those who are vulnerable. Are you getting any feedback or issue with the vulnerability on a Friday? I mean,
No, more to Andrea's point, I have seniors who have to continue to be working or watching their grandchildren, and it's nice for them to be able to come to a program at 4:30 in the afternoon when we would have been closed otherwise. So, no. And I've always made accommodations to stay late if I had to, or the Wednesday is nice for me because a lot of times I have to stay anyway for people that cannot meet with me up until the time that we were usually closed, and I'd be in the building alone. And now it gives them the opportunity to come see me between 4:30 and 6, at least on a Wednesday.
So with the senior center being open till 6 o'clock on a Wednesday, this has accommodated those working seniors who maybe have an issue that needs to be, they'd like to talk to you about in social services.
The Wednesday has worked really, really well for me, actually, really well for me. And I haven't, like Andrea has said, for those who food shop, we do our trips to the food bank, that we have adjusted for people to get to the food bank. I do believe there was shopping on Friday, and we have rearranged that, which I don't even think it was a blip on the radar. They just moved their shopping day. So I don't see
Excuse me, could you
anybody-
just hand her the mic so other people that are listening in?
I
may be
don't
able to
see
hear?
anybody.
Are you on?
I haven't had any complaints. If anything, like I said, it has worked for me. It's been a big advantage to my schedule.
Not just to you personally, but for,
Is the mic
To
on?
meeting, yes.
to meet with people. I want to be clear about that.
Otherwise I would be in the building alone.
Not that we don't care about your married, but also that it's meeting the needs of, there was a question about the vulnerable, those who had special, needed to be accommodated or had, whatever. I want to say also that the West Haven trip is a very important trip. A lot of that is down to the West Haven VA for our veterans to get them down there. But again, this is for people who are coming in after 4:30. It's better, it makes better arrangements because they're working. Okay, I'll open up the board. Any questions?
Sorry, this is Holly. I just have a question, and forgive me because I didn't quite hear it. Andrea, can you just share again, on Fridays, you said the medical visits were to the West Haven area, and how often was that being utilized?
Yes, so our
No,
Fridays.
You got to turn your mic on.
So Fridays for our dial ride, which is our out-of-town medical, that would be to West Haven and New Haven. And in 2024, we did 4 trips out of the entire
Okay.
year. It's very
For the whole
low
year.
attended, but I am keeping it because of what Jeff said, that the West Haven, the VA is there. So I do think it is important. But because it was so, infrequent, that we decided instead to do by request Monday through Thursday. And that is also made possible because of the town getting the 3 new SUVs. It's a lot easier to transport, it's one person who doesn't need the wheelchair lift with an SUV. We have a full set of drivers now, so instead of limiting it to Fridays, we are opening it up to Monday through Thursday. So maybe we'll see more people going to the VA with this schedule change.
Understood. And what about in-town medical service on Fridays? How frequently is that used, or what's the volume like compared to other days?
Sure. So for the in-town, it was 10% of our rides on Fridays. And on Fridays in 2024, we did 593 rides, so 10% of that.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
And I can assure you, if we had rides on Saturday, you may get 10% on a Saturday. So,
Sure.
because it's available, not that it's an issue,
Right.
right. Ann?
So I'll make it clear that I did vote on the pilot program as a yes vote, but I don't think I had enough time to digest it. I have heard from many people that have reached out to me, seniors, that were disappointed by not having Fridays. I don't know if you understand that Heritage Village now stopped their bus service at the village, so that's a big deficit for a lot of seniors at Heritage Village. Now, you said on Fridays you had 17% of transportation for seniors.
Right.
And how did we,
We put it on different days.
you put it on different days, but so now, if you're closed on Friday, and so say I want to have a ride on Tuesday or Monday, I need a ride, I have to have a ride. There's no one there Friday to take the appointment for me to go. Now I gotta wait till Monday to make an appointment for during the week.
So we have a 48 business hour schedule system anyway, so you have to schedule 2 business days ahead of time.
Okay, so if I needed something Tuesday and you're not there Friday, I'm out.
You still have to call it on Thursday, correct?
Call on Thursday or
We have a full
Wednesday, okay.
schedule of how you reserve your ride, and many of our seniors reserve them well ahead of time.
Okay, and now that I think about it, I think this might have been a bad idea. You only have to work till 1 o'clock, so 5 hours, it's not that big of a deal on Friday. If we had the library open, you'd have a place for seniors to go now. Now they can't go to the senior center, and I understand that you're extending hours. That's great. Some people don't want to go to extended hours. They wanted to go on their Fridays. That's what they've told me. So if the library was open, which unfortunately it's not, and I know they can go to Heritage Village to the new, to the hotel, I think what I'm trying to say that if I thought about this and digested it longer, I think it's fair that you're open till 1 o'clock on it. It's for the public. The senior center is for the public. The Parks and Rec is for the public. So if Parks and Rec has to be open, I don't understand why senior center shouldn't be open till 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock's not that bad. It's not overtime. It's, you work a few hours and help a few seniors.
Well, the library will be open.
It will be open, thank God.
I do want to note that. And also, the library has a much larger staff than I do. I know there's been talk about flexing schedules or whatnot. If you wanted to add a few more staff people to my repertoire, then I would love to stay open longer days, extra days, nights, weekends, whatsoever. I just want to make a note that when Heritage Village was thinking about getting rid of their buses, I went there multiple times and tried my best to get them to keep their buses, because I was very for them having it. I think it's a service they moved into Heritage Village for, and I'm frankly disgusted that they did get rid of it. I told them of our limitations. One thing that we don't offer in Heritage Village is the inner Heritage Village transport from condo to the activity center and back, things like that. I do think it's a big loss for them. We did see a increase in our numbers when Heritage Village got rid of their buses, which is a shame because they claimed that only 5 people used their buses when somehow we got 30 more people. But they're used to our schedules. Like I said, Fridays are our lightest transportation day. So to say that they're not going to get to where they're going to go without our
I just
Friday-
hope they get to where they want
They
to go.
will, and it's been working out.
And I just think, once the pilot program's over, I think maybe there should be a survey done of the seniors, of a good survey, not just of a few people that put their name on a petition, because there's a lot of people that didn't want to put their name on a petition. They don't want to put their name out there, but they were disgusted by the whole not being there on Friday.
There's
And I'm
also-
just relaying to you what they're telling me, but I
But
hope.
I think there's also people who aren't saying that they either are unaffected or are in favor of it. And there might be seniors that we haven't been touched yet
Right.
because they haven't even had a chance to come to our later hours.
But I just hope that, once the pilot program's over, seniors get to use the senior center on Fridays, and maybe next year we can consider having it open as Parks and Recs is open.
So do you offer rides, like if seniors wanted to go to the library, you would give rides to the library?
Absolutely.
Do you give them a ride to the Heritage Village
Library?
library
Yep.
now? So they are going to the library?
Correct.
Whether it's remote or not, the physical, they are getting rides to the
Right.
library to get their books and browse books, just not on a Friday.
Correct.
Okay. And you saw the petition.
Correct.
Of all that petition, how many on there were not members of the senior center?
If I remember correctly, there was about a third that were not members of the senior center, and then another third who signed it that are members but don't attend Fridays, and the last third were members who do attend Fridays. And then there was a handful of non-residents, because I know it was mentioned in the newspaper that it was a petition of residents. There were some non-residents on there.
So the petition is inaccurate.
Correct.
Okay.
And I do have a stat I can share with you real quick, if you don't mind me digging in my notes here. So I have our attendee summary. So I know that someone mentioned going to the senior center every day. In the month of, I did, January, February, March, so I'll just pick a month. So in the month of March, 39 of our resident members attended our senior center 10 or more times. So it's not a huge number that come all the time. We have, 150 of those attended 2 to 5 times. So I don't think there's a single person that comes every single day of the week. And
I understand employee retention, but I also understand that this town, senior center, Parks and Rec, we service the people. So if we're not there, we don't service the people.
But what I'm hearing from Andrea is we are servicing the people. They're all getting where they're supposed to be. They're getting their rides for medical, for shopping, trips. It's all being done, most of which is not being done on Friday anyway because of
Right.
short hours.
correct.
So we are servicing the population.
I guess that's my question kind of back is what are we missing? We have all the activities that we have. There hasn't been a request for something new that's missing.
Well, there isn't exercise classes or anything else. I get the work-life balance and everything. I've heard a number of people that have complained that it isn't open, but with it only being open till 1, I kind of like the idea of what you said earlier, of maybe a flex schedule, and maybe you can work it out with Park and Rec, where there's a flex schedule for employees during the week, just to keep the Friday open till 1 o'clock.
But the issue with that is we don't have enough staff. We have 3 full-timers, and as of July 1st, we'll have 3 full-timers and a part-timer. One of my full-timers is being downgraded to part-time. So July 1, we'll have 3 full-time and 1 part-time, and I already lost my other part-time counter person in the last fiscal year. So my staff has been dwindling. So in order to flex and all be able to do different scheduling, I need more people.
Somebody leaves at 1 on Monday, they can work on Friday till 1.
It's very difficult to run our office with 1 person.
Can
I
the
agree.
duties be dual between Park and Rec? Because Park and Rec is
We're-
open, so could someone take some of the tasks
No,
on?
we would not.
Just to get it open for the seniors? I mean, there's somebody in the classes that are doing the exercise classes, or somebody in Park and Rec that can answer phones to make appointments for Monday or Tuesday the following week?
I mean, I can't speak for Park and Rec, but I can't imagine taking on their programs to help them out, so I'd be surprised if they would want to take on our programs to help us out. I mean, it's a nice idea to collaborate like that, but we have our own systems, we have 2 different software systems, let alone different clientele.
I also want to mention that in the past, I had 2 floaters who floated to different departments when they were short-staffed, to give that flexibility. Currently, I have a Park and Rec director who's away on vacation, and I have camp right now. I can't envision them being able to run on a Friday or staff or help on the senior side without adding. So we have reduced staff, and you're asking us to do more. And
We just
that.
added a floater too, though.
What's that?
We just added a floater too tonight.
I just hired a floater. I also have other departments that are in need, and it's going to take time to train. What I'm saying is, it doesn't mean I can send them to Park and Rec, because they're not even trained in Park and Rec, and I can't send them to the senior center, because if they're there. The staff is running very, I don't want to say thinly, but you really can't run on less, and it's not possible. You'd have to go and understand how it operates. It just is there's no way that they could flex it. And during the day, if you're over there, and I would urge the selectmen to just go over and be at the senior center. Instead of sitting here at this table and from the outside, just observe what they do in a day and how busy they are during the day and what it takes to get and especially when it comes around lunch, when you do the senior lunches, which you've done a fabulous job on this. I mean, actually, I know people that go there for the lunch, and I wish I go home to be for some calm and see my grandson, but it's night and day difference in the senior
Thank you.
center. You have been able to retain drivers, and we've done that by employee morale. Again, you're charging me with creating retention because of all the talk about we were losing people, and now we're not losing police officers, we're not losing staff. We have a director here that's doing wonderful work. Nothing is gonna be perfect. We do serve them, and what I'm hearing from, unless I'm wrong, I'm hearing from the director of the senior services, who we've hired to run, saying every senior is being served. Park and Rec is different. They have children, they have camp for working parents and whatnot, and that's a different story. So I suggest we keep the pilot program in place. I have, again, asked Andrea to expand the senior center hours that, everybody thinks, that there's activity, and try to attract some of the younger seniors who are still working into our senior center and get them involved. Because I think that's important for us to understand that just because we're over 60 doesn't mean we're inactive or need a senior center, but connect with some of the people that, whether it be pickleball or tennis table or whatever it is, to get us to get out and make that social connection that we would like to see too with like-minded, which I'm expecting you will do. And then by the end of this pilot program, we should have some numbers and a better understanding, and maybe can balance it out with this.
Okay, you got it.
Everybody comfortable with keeping the pilot program in place, from what you've heard?
No.
You want to make a motion, Ann?
To cancel the pilot program for the senior center, yes.
Motion made to cancel the pilot program for the senior center. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye, if you're in favor. Opposed? Nay.
Nay.
Does not pass.
Nay.
Okay. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Discussion,
For having this discussion.
yep, no problem. Next up is the Charter Revision Commission recommendation, possible scheduling of a, Dan? You've resolved that? So, take a phone call. We'll take a few, give us a few minutes. Must be something, because Dan, you're all set with that? You've ironed that out? Okay. Just to let you know, does the board understand what that was about?
The health savings? Was it the health savings?
Sorry, Jeff, I can't see what's going on, so I'm missing what's happening.
So when our employees hit 65, they're no longer eligible for an HSA. They have to go into an HRA, which is a health reimbursement account. There's only certain companies that manage health reimbursement accounts, and they all decided this year that they were no longer going to take a check for payment of claims. We have to ACH the claims. And everyone knows is on the charter revision, we can't ACH any payments.
Right.
Unless
So-
we vote to approve it.
unless you vote to approve it. So today, I had a conversation with Advanced Benefit Strategies. I talked to their CEO, and he agreed for this year to allow us to continue paying by check. And then
How many seniors that
we have currently 8 people on the HRA
Oh,
plan.
okay, so it's not a lot of people.
Yeah. So we're going to pay by check now, so there's no need to adjust. Hopefully, charter revision will pass, that we can start
But you could use ACH.
using ACH, and then we will not have this issue next year.
Is there a discount for the ACH or it's the
No.
same?
Same.
So this, just so you know why that was there, what we were
Yeah.
thinking we had to do to fund that. There was no possible way to fund it unless we did, and we had to take the vote. All right? So we won't be
Well, it's
discussing.
all done, so we don't
It's all
have to
done.
worry about it.
Well, you can't say, well, what was that about? It was on our agenda, and the
Yeah.
public is seeing it, so we want to make sure the public is informed.
No, I'm glad you explained it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. We will just take a few minutes until Selectman Van Stone came back. I'm sure it's I'm sure it's a phone call that's not, hopefully it's okay. Most selectmen would. Holly, do you know that Jason Van Stone had to step out for a phone call quick? I'm sure
Okay.
he had good reason for that, so we're just going to pause here for a minute.
Okay.
No problem. Everything, all right, good. So I get you.
Thank you.
May not be a good night for everybody. Okay, discussion of Charter Revision Commission recommendations and possible scheduling of a public hearing. Do you want to discuss the changes that are proposed in the charter? Joe Ruggiero is here. Does Joe have a microphone?
If you have any questions, I'm here to answer them, although you have some folks from Charter as well on your board, so however you want to play it.
Okay, we have two things. We have the charter, the changes, and there's but we don't have, you didn't write the actual questions you're looking for?
I submitted suggested topic questions.
There was 5 in the packet. Yeah, there was 5 in them.
Let's see if I have.
You were in the packet.
Do I have that in front of me? How come I don't have that?
If I may, Mr. First Selectman.
Yes, sir.
They're not, what is submitted from the Charter Revision Commission is kind of the topics or the content. It's not what would be an official ballot question. We assumed that this board, and likely the town attorney, wanted to be part of that to craft the actual question that maybe appear on a ballot. So what Chairman Ruggiero offered is what is now on the screen, kind of the 5 topics that the Charter Revision is putting forward in its draft. And then he also submitted both, I believe, a PDF and a Word document of a redlined version of the charter, which obviously gets into much deeper detail than this page we're seeing here.
So just for the record, I've talked to Joe about this. This change from a 2 to a 4-year term will not affect the next election, correct?
No.
No, my understanding is if the charter passes, then it has to be the next election.
Okay.
So
You
that
know,
would be the
that's-
2027 election.
Right,
Right.
okay. And talking about the Planning and Zoning Commission unification, which has been discussed over a period of time, keeping that number of people on a commission, 2 separate commissions. And there is, yes, there's a lot of overlap. I know that right now, planning has been working on a rezoning, and then to make recommendations to the zoning commission, and the zoning commission would have to accept and write that. So it's,
It tightens up timeframes for businesses that want to go through, and other residential developments, to go through the process. The other comment I'd make about that is there have been, as recently as April, when the zoning commission met and didn't have a quorum. And so, you know, the idea is to make sure that you have enough folks to pull this off. Also, it's my understanding that both planning and zoning representatives take the same course that's mandated by the state. There's a 4-hour or 8-hour course, I forget the time frame, for training. So that would still be the case. You would, you know, the folks who are on either commission could run for the unified commission, as they see fit. You'd hope you'd get specialists in both planning and zoning on a combined commission.
How would that transition, do you have any idea how that would work?
We wrote that up in the charter that said when you unify it, this is what you do. It's in the section on planning and zoning. I think it's.
Well, I think the public needs
Yeah,
to.
if you see that, it says that so it talks about the formation of the new commission and how you do it the first time so that you stagger the terms properly. So it's not all done at once. So you'd have the staggering is as outlined in the charter.
And I think the staggering, personally, I think the staggering of terms on that commission is a good idea. Brings continuity to it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was considered, it's in there, so.
Okay. Number 3, the unsuccessful candidate for first selectman contest does not get a seat on the Board of Selectmen.
This, again, historically, just so folks understand, when you had a board of selectmen, you'd elect a number of people to the board, and whoever got the most votes was the first selectman. And we've been kind of migrating away from that toward a specific run for the first selectman's position. And then the other seats, the other board seats are voted on as a group.
Now, do other towns, Joe, I know you reached out to a lot of towns about
yeah.
a lot of things, and I
Yes.
thank you for that
Right.
effort that was put into that. And the Board of Selectmen who are here too. My question is, you surveyed many times you look, how are other towns functioning and what they're doing? Is this, we're unique, but sometimes we're too unique.
This is unusual. I'm trying to remember the other town that had it, but typically the other smaller towns, we're right in the middle in terms of, we expanded from 3 members of the Board of Selectmen to 5, to the number we have now, 6. For example, Woodbury is still at 3, and they maintain that model that has the highest vote getter, and then the next person gets on the board. But this is something between that historical selectman model and voting for like a mayor, and this is a compromise. It is unusual. I thought it was. Maybe it was Montville or the folks out in the east part may be doing this as well.
So doing this is not unusual?
No, and again, I think our town attorney can double check that too.
Mhm.
I don't think it violates any statute that we could determine.
No, there's still a minority representation
Oh,
that's
yeah,
required.
can't touch that, yeah, that's a state regulation.
Well, I don't really understand the logic behind it. To me, the unsuccessful candidate, we have a Board of Selectmen that are 6. So already the unsuccessful party is only represented by 2. Doing this, you're taking away the unsuccessful party's most important person that they primaried in to run for first selectman. So I don't understand why you would want to get rid of that.
Well, again, this is not the first time this has appeared. This was done at a previous charter group as well. And there was a feeling that when running for the first selectman's position there's a lot of responsibility with our first selectman's position. It's very different from other members of the board. And it's a dedicated full-time position. And the notion was that didn't necessarily, first of all, you hope that when folks come up for that, they're ready for that type of commitment. This is more of running dedicated to that position and, having a competition. We didn't necessarily think that it translated that. You're still offering a slate for both parties, and that doesn't change. But there was I believe we got some public hearing feedback on that, and we were following through with what had been done previously. And again, putting it to a vote is the ultimate test. So putting it in front of the public, and if the public, I think last time it failed, and we decided that we should put it up again and leave it to the public to decide.
Yeah, it was interesting. I had somebody who does mathematics, and it was, I can't explain it. They could. The mathematical probability of the highest vote getter for the opposition, if it was a vote between the three candidates that were up, they would not mathematically win. And it really wasn't the person that they would really have been, they would not have gotten that number if it's mathematical.
I just want to mention a little bit about the process that we arrived at, the things that we did change. On internet submissions, through the town website, we had a very large, every member of our commission, I've recorded them, I'll share the spreadsheet ultimately, it's public record anyway, and on a scale of 1 to 10, how did we feel about each particular item? And none of these things would have bubbled up if it had gotten a low vote, and it was a bipartisan group. So this isn't something that was close. This one was very highly ranked early.
Okay,
Some of the
will
other
your spreadsheet include both Democrat and Republican on who submitted those?
submitted it on the internet by email or whatever, but voted. Everybody felt we should consider this, put it on the submissions. I think you could go to our page and see what the email submissions and even the non-email submissions, we put them up there. So if you're curious, they're all there. And again, it made it past the commission for consideration. So it wasn't even like it was a 5-4 vote. You know what I'm saying? I think it was unanimous, if I don't remember correctly.
So it's
We
a
can check the
bipartisan board, and it was
Absolutely.
unanimous.
Yeah, I mean, the whole commission felt, it might have been slightly, I have to go back and look, but it's all, every item that we looked at, we took a vote. And I was intentional in trying to structure that, because I wanted everything recorded in the minutes in detail so that you understood how things went. Some of the closer votes were things that we considered, took much longer to consider, that's not even on this list, like town manager, town administrator. You'll notice that's not there. And that went through a lot of gyration. It really did.
Yeah, to Joe's point, and I didn't mean to cut you off,
Please.
I don't recall any party line votes anywhere across the board here.
Not that I can recall. Again, it's all, prior, and I'm not trying to throw rocks at the prior charter revision commissions, but the votes were not as clear, or their feelings were not, they didn't take as many votes in the process, and I felt we had to do that, so you had a record of how we arrived at this. Anyway, other questions about these?
Can you explain for the board and for the public, the finance ordinance alternative, chapter 7, what that is?
Okay, so that was kind of a construct that I came up with based upon feedback from the finance team here in Town Hall, and we're working with John Michaels as well. There's a lot, the charter has a great deal of detail in it, specifically sections 702, 703, and 704, that describe the process for doing your budgets and doing a lot of different things with the finance process. It's been there a long time, and there's been some consternation over having all of that in the charter. A lot of other towns have removed that from the charters. They don't put it in there, and they make it more ordinance-based, or they're just procedural, so that they are a little more nimble in the way that they can adjust their finance process. Now, it's not to say it needs to be public, but the question is, does it need to be in the charter? And so, with that said, we decided to have a section and came up with this finance ordinance alternative, which, if the public understands it and if they pass it, it allows the Board of Selectmen, independent in between charter periods, to change those sections and adjust the procedure. I'll give you an example. Recently, there were some issues with the process that was followed for timeliness of taxation changes and how the Board of Finance had to react and how the Board of Selectmen had to react in late April and early May and so forth. Something like that, we did, by modifying this procedure and maybe streamlining it a little bit or allowing for more professional oversight of best practices for a finance process, this could be done at a later time with proper adjudication. So we didn't feel comfortable rewriting the 702, 703, and 4 completely. We made some minor tweaks here and there. But we think that this flexibility, which is given to other towns who have removed this from the charter, would be a good idea. Now, with that being said, we still made minor tweaks to 702, 702, and 704, I believe, because if this ordinance question does not pass, there are still some fixes, like your ACH fix, that still should try to be taken care of. So that's the reason why there's sort of two different ways of handling this.
So I think what we're hearing here, and I have to agree, Joe, with this, having been here 10 years, and between charter revisions, sometimes things have changed and you can't make it to the charter revision. You have to have, like tonight was an example where, we have to take a special vote for a change because it's in the charter, and the charter is very much the Bible. We also had a charter that said that we had to go, we had to get approval to apply for grants, which got into the charter without, the last charter, without much thought. Well, it hindered us because sometimes I have 4 days to get a grant in. You'll all of a sudden know. So it was very difficult. This gives a little more flexibility.
I just wanted to say that during these discussions especially, we had people come in and explain what it exactly meant, how it would be affected if it was changed or not changed. Am I right, Joe?
No, that's correct. I mean, we did a lot of research, especially for the financial ordinance alternative, because of John Michael's experience, who's been around for a long time. And his experience is that sometimes that charter process is onerous. There's some hard dates in there. If you remember in 702, could you go to 702 for a sec, Betsy? Or 702A? You had some hard dates in there, like little lower. March 25th must do this. You had some other dates in there. They're pretty, pretty strict. And there may be
Struck in stone.
They are in stone, yes. And so that's part of the types of edits that we made some of that. And there's a lot more of it in 702, 703, and 704. And that's why we think that process could be refined, but it doesn't necessarily have to wait for another 5 years. And again, put it to the people. And I don't think it still requires an ordinance, which means you still have to public hearing, publish. An ordinance is pretty strong. It's not as strong as the charter, obviously, but it requires a lot of energy. It's not a resolution, so there's a little more work involved. That was the reasoning behind the ordinance alternative. But if you go back to the other edits to 702, this adjusts 702 for, all this really does, you can read it through, is it changes when the public hearing is for the Board of Finance. It changes its order so that it's later in the process, but not before they've made a final decision, which is what happened this year with the whole thing. If you go further to let me check 703. I don't think we changed 703. 704 is interesting. You got some ability to do, this is where you're dealing with ACH payments, in this section, and we had to come up with the right terminology so that you authorize or co-sign. So a check you sign, but an electronic payment you authorize. So that's what that's about. A little further, 704, we modified the borrowing section, but not substantially. What well, this is my idea, and worked it with Dan Colton, is we indexed some of these numbers. So they're not hard numbers like 0.4% or 1% of the previous municipal budget. The idea behind this is if you have fixed numbers in there and you have inflation, so the classic example of this at the federal level, if you're familiar with federal tax law, is the alternative minimum tax, which was done in the 70s and never indexed for inflation, and every year more and more people get caught up in the alternative minimum tax. It wasn't intentional, but that's what happened. This is like an index formula, and it works to be the same numbers as we have now, but it prevents the hard numbers from coming to get you later, like 250,000 or 100,000.
Because it is 5 years, and that number could be substantially different.
You also don't have to touch it again. That's the point. 702, 703, 7. This was under 5 actually, so this is not subject to the alternative. Only the first 3 sections is subject to the alternative. This is payments to private organizations. The commission felt we could bump that up a little also because it's been $500 for a long time. Just that was the feeling of the commission. Tax bills. This is interesting. So if you have tax bills that are less than $5 or you're owed more than $5, it lets the tax collector get rid of those because it costs more to put them through the process than it costs. Mailing, postage, processing. Anyway, I just sort of mentioned Chapter 7 saw the most edits. Here's the grants thing you were talking about. Now it says that grants in excess must be approved by the Board of Finance and Board of Selectmen, but applications can be done by anybody. So that's what that's about. And that's
Because frankly, we did get grants, but it's like,
yeah, they have strings.
and they have timelines. And
Right, and so but if those strings and timelines add up too much money, then you don't do it, and that's where
Right.
the approval comes in. So, that's the section 7, and that's some of the biggest changes in the whole document. Maybe back to the questions, if there was anything else. So the rest of this we felt that all the other changes were more minor. That's up to you folk to determine. If you think that anything needs to be broken out is another question, that's really up to you. But we thought this could be what I would best describe as an omnibus question, which means you put all the smaller edits together and pose it as a question.
I think the good thing is, frankly, your thought process, I would say you didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater, which often does happen, and then you're back into a charter that is challenging for people, but.
I think that I'm going to do my best for anyone even in the public who wants an explanation to try, to explain why we did this, how we got to this, as we get closer to the election. I'll do my best to help with that. And I don't know what you folks will decide ultimately on all these questions and things, but here as reference, and if you guys need more information, let us know.
Thank you, Joe. Is there any questions from the board of Joe or and Jason? You're.
So was Ann.
Oh, Ann.
Yeah, he's a co-chair. Jason was my
Okay.
esteemed
Okay.
co-chairman or vice chairman, and Ann was on the group as well, so they can answer them probably as best as I could too.
Yeah, charter revision became like the minor leagues for the Board of Selectmen after a while. So as soon as there was an opening, you went to charter revision and pulled somebody up.
Maybe that was good. I mean, I honestly, I mean, I'll have to say it again. Just for the public to understand, and this part of the reason I apologize, Joe, we do this. So, should a constituent want to ask or want this information, I can suggest they watch this meeting to hear the explanation. They can see it and possibly digest it. But I want to say for the public that may be watching or cares to see this, charter revision is an ominous undertaking, and it's a very serious piece of document. And also, it's a lot to work out because there's a lot of things that are in there that may have worked in the past, and people don't like to change it, but like the flexibility that needs to come. Government works, believe it, it's working, it moves quicker and quicker every day. And I just want to say for the charter revision people and the people there, and I think the bipartisan actions of the people show they really wanted to do a good job on this charter, and I thank the chair and the co-chair. You kept that direction going. And I applaud what has been done here. So next what we would do is look to schedule a public hearing. I have my notes here, possibly hold a public hearing the week of between July 7th and 10th. I have a note here from my staff, thank God. It says best dates would be Monday, July 7th, Tuesday, July 8th, or Thursday, July 10th. I would say, I think maybe Tuesday, July 8th may be a little better than, we're around the holidays, someone may be away and they may be squeezing in that Monday on the long weekend. Is that,
The 8th works for me.
was that?
The 8th would work for me.
So I think, I would say, do we, make a motion that, the Board of Selectmen, have a public hearing on the charter revision on Tuesday, July 8th at 7 PM. Are you available on the 10th? Or on the 7th? Okay. Yeah, it's a Monday. I was just, I'm not sure if people coming back, you know,
I'll be here any day, so.
I live here.
Does it have to be those days, Jeff?
What's that?
Does it have to be that week?
We're bumping up against the process.
Yeah,
So-
the answer is no, but if
No.
we add a week here and a week there, we're going to miss the end deadline. So the faster we start this, because now, once Joe submitted to the town clerk the draft proposal of the charter, the clock starts. So delaying further will just continue to double down on kind of our timeline crunch.
Holly, are you out there?
Yep, I'm here.
Are you, ooh, all right, so I would propose that we do the public hearing. I just hate getting up against the Monday on the holiday weekend. So that people want to be here, or the public wants to be here. I would say Tuesday, the 8th, or July 10th, to give the public a chance.
Can I ask you a question? I have a question. So we're gonna have a public hearing. Will the public be able to submit questions if they're unable to attend?
Yeah, we'll allow that.
Okay,
Yeah, we can have that.
I think that would be very important. So if someone was away and they really had something urgent, they could submit a question that we could answer.
Yeah, and it's a hearing, not nothing's, we don't do anything at the
it's
public
just- yeah,
hearing.
right.
So anybody can,
Do we have to put that out in a notice?
we have
the
to
public?
notice it, yes. Yeah. So I would make a motion that we schedule the public hearing for the Board of Selectmen for charter revision Tuesday, July 8th at 7 PM. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, it carries, and we will have a public hearing.
One more question for Joe.
Wait a minute, there's already a public hearing scheduled for July 17th on 2 ordinances, so we're not going to put that together, just for the ordinances. Go ahead, Tim, sorry.
Are you happy it's over with?
Oh, it's not over.
It's not over.
No,
So
there's
is
still one more step in the charter
So,
revision
so is
process.
my understanding of the process that if you have your public hearing and you folk decide to change anything, then you can make those recommendations for changing any aspect of this. If you do, I believe it goes back to the Charter Revision Commission,
That is correct.
and then we get last crack.
Okay.
And then we can say, yes, we'll consider those changes, or no, we don't, and that's the end of it. So am I looking forward to the end? Yes, I am. Am I there yet? I don't know. You tell me.
It's a unique process, which, Tim, to your point, is it really keeps us to a point out of that, like, hey, I want this. And it goes back, and I said, you didn't change what I wanted. It goes back to commission, and I will get overruled. You know,
I just know it was a lot of work. Appreciate everything that the commission did and all the volunteers too.
Jeff, I don't know if you can hear me all right. I know we had a little interruption there, but I did text. Unfortunately, I have another commitment, another board meeting already on the 8th. I'm certainly not going to hold up the process, but just want to make sure I was clear.
yeah, you'll be able to hear the public hearing. It'll be recorded.
Okay, excellent. I apologize, but unfortunately, that was
No,
set for a long time.
we actually all do have lives. Yeah, we should have a quorum. Well, we'll have to, we'll see, yeah, and if not, we'll have
Put
to,
Justin in a headlock and get him here.
yeah. The quorum will give us the ability to have the hearing.
Thank you, by the way. And I really can't say enough about the commission. Everybody really got along really well. They worked really hard, and it was a pleasure to do that. And I wasn't sure what to expect, but I'm honestly, pleasantly surprised by the way it all went and the collegiality of the whole thing. Everybody should be, proud.
And I
So-
think that tenor was set by you, Joe, so we
Oh, that's
appreciate it.
fine. Well, yeah,
Oh.
thank you, but I was pleased with the way everyone got along. It's wonderful. Thank you.
I have to say, Joe did a tremendous amount of work. It was amazing that he took on the role of chair. The group was fantastic. I learned a lot. If anyone ever wants to learn about the charter, they should really, it's an in-depth look at the charter. It's incredible, and I loved it. And thank you, Joe, and thank you, Jason,
Thank you, man.
for leading our group and keeping us on track and making us stay till 8:59 every meeting.
Yeah, Joe, for some reason, he had scheduled the meeting 7 to 9, and he thought that meant we had to stay there till 9.
Very good. Number 9, approvals of the minutes of June 12th, 2025. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Made and second. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Holly, are you still there? Are you an aye?
I'm an aye.
Aye. We are in adjournment. Thank you, everybody, for your time tonight.